Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Yapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vedyagravitam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvi Navadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So last week, we started on the Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss sheath. And to review what it is, the bliss sheath is what we experience in deep sleep. It is the stuff of the mind, the chitta, folded up into its causal state. We call it the bliss sheath because it feels real good. The Anandamaya Kosha is experienced as the result of punya, meaning meritorious actions. We experience it in two places. When we satisfy a desire, deep sleep. In the world, what happens is I have this restlessness, this discontent. I want. What's going to fix it? What's going to fix it? And the more vasana pressure we have, more painful that state will be. And then I posit a goal of some sort, a person, place, thing, or condition. And then that's priya, that's the first state. I determine it's dear to me. Then I get proximate to the thing. I buy it, I earn it, I construct it, I marry it. That's called moda, when I'm proximate to the object of desire. And then when desire and object of desire become one, that point of pleasure is called pramoda. I think it feels so good, and that the joy is in the object, in the person, in the situation. Actually, I have just used that object to temporarily induce the mind state free from craving. And if the objects were what I needed to be happy, then why am I happy in deep sleep? There's no objects. So this is incredibly important to understand. If we don't really grasp this, and the only way you can understand it is watch your mind. Notice what it feels like to want something you don't have. So we were talking about your review at work. On other occasions, have you really wanted a good review?
Yes.
Yeah. Was it painful?
Yes.
And when you got it, were you really happy?
Yes.
And when you didn't get it? Well. But from, if I heard you right before class, you were more detached this time. Is that correct?
Yes.
So whatever happened, it didn't have the power to rob you of peace. It's so simple. It's so obvious once you see it. But boy, can it take us lifetimes of delusion. So we pay attention to our wanting. It sucks. Ego will say, I'm unhappy because I don't have what I want. Yoga says, Buddha, fool, there you are wanting again. And then you begin to see how repetitive it is and how boring it is. And then we pay attention to our ananda. Own your ananda. When you satisfy a desire, your ego will tell you, the ice cream did it, the sex did it, the promotion did it. Yoga says, no, that's your own self-nature. You just used an object to get there. Now, there's another enormous practice that's implied here. We call it the Anandamaya Kosha, because when it's experienced in deep sleep and the satisfaction of a desire, I am in ignorance. I do not know that it's a kiss of the bliss of my own self. But in meditation, we keep practicing and keep letting go of the world. And we run away from the world. It's mature vairagya. Even if it just happens once. What happened with me with Swamiji? Went down to Stanford. I was pretty psychic by that point because I've been doing all this sensitivity training. Whoa! Who is this guy? He was just, and I just fell into his mind. Oh man, it's delicious. Yeah. Wasn't my Ananda yet. I was, what do they call it when the dolphins get behind the boats? They ride the slipstream. I was riding his slipstream. It took me a long time to begin to taste it as my own Ananda.
I've heard that phrase in driving, in racing, not in dolphins.
Say what?
The slipstream phrase. I've heard that in racing cars, but
yeah,
not in dolphins.
Yeah, they get behind boats and ships and ride the slipstream. But anyway, the point that I'm getting at here is, even if it only happens once, you're hooked. And that same addictive tendency in the mind that drove us to drugs or drink or gambling or sex or work or applause or promotions. Oh, yeah, this is kid stuff. I need something. I want something that's more blissful. And the mind starts to come home. All right, what verse are we on this evening?
We got partway through 209.
All right, let's start 209 again, and we'll do it from the top.
नैवा मनानन्दमय परात्मा सोपाधिकत्वात् प्रकृतेर्विकारात् कार्यत्वः हेतो सुकृति क्रियाया विकारत् संघात समाहितत्वात्. Nor can the Anandamaya Kosha be the Supreme Self, because it has attributes which are ever-changing. It is a modification of Prakriti, is created as a result of good actions of the past, and it lies embedded in the other sheets, which are in themselves all modifications.
I think we did do this one.
We did part of it. Well, you said we come back to it. That's
okay, so the idea here is this cannot be the self. Why? Because happiness comes and goes. Even blissful spiritual experiences come and go. You are not a mind state. And the thing we have to really get clear, the scriptures use 3 words to describe the self: Sat, Chit, Ananda. Existence, consciousness. We usually translate Ananda as bliss absolute. But in our ignorance, we think that's a feeling. Mike and I were talking about Ramakrishna before class. Ramakrishna was famous for his samadhis. You know, he'd be talking with somebody and blah, 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 blah. And someone would just mention God. Oh, God. And he'd just fall out. And we think, oh, Ananda, that's the self. That's the self. I want to experience the self. But think. The self is an eternal factor, and it is achalam. It never changes. Blissed out mind states change. They might be achieved or lost. That cannot be the self. So, what is it right now that's always there, that's an eternal, changeless factor? It's you. When are you ever not you? Whatever mind state's going on, do you not know it? You even know deep sleep. We can prove this through the law of memory. You cannot remember something you did not experience. Did I have dinner this evening? Yes, no?
Don't know.
You don't know. Why?
Weren't there.
Did he have dinner this evening?
Yes.
How do you know?
I saw him eat it.
Yes, you were there.
Yes.
Did you sleep well last night?
Yes.
You must have been there. Now, you can't think, oh, I'm feeling so good. That's not what I'm talking about. But in the morning, you wake up and you go, oh, I feel so rested. I slept so soundly. Here's the self, always shining. Here's your mind. Waking state, dream state, folded up in deep sleep. Now watch carefully. Vivekachudamani. And when the mind comes back, oh my gosh, there's nobody there. So it is better to start translating Ananda as no sorrow reaches there. Physical pain gets to my body, suffering gets to my mind, doubt and confusion get to my intellect, but it never gets to me. Well, then why do we call it bliss absolute? You know, you're fooling us, Jim, with a term like that. Why do we call it just Satchit Kevala? Existence, consciousness, aloneness. Because of what happiness is. Happiness is a mind state. The mind is a pleasure seeker, pain avoider mechanism. From the moment you get up in the morning to the moment your head hits the pillow at night, you are only engaged in one activity, seeking the good and avoiding misery. Everything we do is for that. The only doubt is where the F is the good. And what the Anandamaya Kosha is teaching us, what I'm looking for, I'm looking with. The cause of the suffering is the Vikshepa Shakti, the projecting power of the mind. Kama, craving, spriha, longing, vancha, wanting, sangraha, attachment. It has so many names. It just sucks. But what it is this mind going, and the satisfaction of a desire causes that to cease, just like the tempestuous waves coming back home to the ocean after the storm. So the yogi, understanding this, begins to take up a mode of life which has as its goal the reduction of desires entertained. And what I'm left with is peace and freedom. Now, those of us who may work in the recovery field, people who are addicts and alcoholics, it's such a clear demonstration of this. I was talking with a fellow today, and at least it's been 2 months since he smoked crystal meth. So all he's doing is drinking. He just needs something to soothe himself because he's so miserable. His life, his mind is unbearable. And those people who have entered into recovery enter into a spiritual life which has as its goal to have the desire to drink and use. We use a term called white knuckling in the recovery community. That's when I'm disciplining myself. I'm just not going to drink or use, and I'm using willpower. It's a miserable state. You want to say, for God's sake, have a drink. You're driving me nuts. But the person who's truly recovered, the desire to drink or use has been removed. For the person who's still drinking and using, I'm not going to have any fun anymore. Well, I won't get to pass out at the next party. That's fun for you? Yeah, I don't know what happened at the party, but I must have had a good time because I blacked out. That's fun for you? Oh, yeah, I threw up all over myself and peed in my pants. That's fun for you? Yeah. That's how crazy we are. But that's you and me. I want. Bigger house, bigger car, better clothes, more, better, different. And it's so painful. And we have to work so hard. There's a term in the tradition called kartavya, which is usually translated as obligatory actions. That doesn't mean, oh, I must brush my teeth in the morning. It means this jonesing. I'm constantly impelled into desire, craving, prompted activity. And it's exhausting. It's just exhausting. So the yogi lives a life in a way where she endeavors to reduce the number of desires entertained. And there is no more fruitful meditation and Sakshi Bhav, watch your mind. Notice what it feels like when you're under the tyranny of longing. Nobody can make you feel anything. Nobody can make you do anything. Which is it? And even though when I was doing sadhana, my nickname for my mind was Mudha, because I was so driven by desire. And I'd see myself doing it over and over and over again. And it was so boring and so repetitive, so painful. Then there'd be a voice in me, Jim, when are you going to give it up? Drop it. Okay. And then own your ananda. When you satisfy a desire, try to pay attention. Happiness always tastes the same. It does the same thing to my mind. It will vary in intensity and it will vary in duration, depending on how badly I wanted the object of desire and how completely it satisfied me. But when you have that rush of satisfaction, oh, Krishna, 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 there's the Lord. There's my own swabha, my own self-nature. All right. So we need to understand that this term ananda can then now be translated as the wellspring of joy, the fountainhead of all happiness. That's why we call it bliss absolute. The less mind, the more blissful the goodness. Next verse.
पञ्चानामपि कोशानां निषेधे युक्तितः श्रुतेः तन्निषेधावधि साक्षी बोधरूपो वशिष्यते. When the five sheets have been negated through reasoning based upon authoritative scriptural texts, then at the
Acme, yes.
Then at the acme of the process, what remains is the witness, knowledge, absolute, the self.
I love that. It's about the only time I ever get to use the word acme. Means the pinnacle, the very end, the top. So when the five koshas have been negated, reviewing Annamaya kosha, the body, the food tube, Pranamaya kosha, energy in the body in all its forms, Manomaya kosha, the feelings, the judgment. Remember, it's the mind that creates the world. Vijnanamaya kosha, the intellect, which has in it that karta, that shadow self, that phony self, the agent. And then the Anandamaya kosha, the bliss sheet. When they've all been negated, what remains is the witness of the one. If it has a beginning and an end, if it occurs in time and space, if it's part of the body-mind-intellect complex, if it has qualities and characteristics, and most importantly, if it can be known objectively, that isn't it. Next verse.
Section 45, Atman, other than the five koshas. Yo yamatma swayam jyoti panchakosha vilakshanaha avasthatraya sakshi sant nirvikaro niranjanaha sadananda savigneya swatmatvena vipashita. This Atman is self-effulgent and distinct from the five sheets. It is the witness of the three states, is real, is without modifications, is unsullied, and bliss everlasting. The wise person should realize it as their own self.
Now, again, we've finished the meditations that are via negativa, as the Christians call it. Neti, not this, not this. Way of negation. Here, Shankara is giving us an assertion verse. The self is. These point, they indicate, they do not define. Now, to review what will not work. If we make the self some idea, like Marxist philosophy. Well, what's your idea of Marxist philosophy? Well, what's your idea of Marxist philosophy? And if we treat the Vedanta the same way, what's your idea of non-dualism? What's your idea of non-dualism? Does nothing to free us. Tat Tvam Asi. You. Who sees the phone? I do. That's yourself. So how do we use an assertion verse like this? Spend some time in meditation, tuning up the mind, getting very, very quiet. Keep the text next to you. After your mind is quiet, keeping your mind in that state, pick it up and take these ideas one by one. And in a mind made very thin, introvert the mind's eye and see whether or not this is true about. And we can practice that right here tonight. So what's the first idea? Self-effulgent?
Yes.
What do we mean by that? Does he say Swayam Jyoti?
Swayam Jyoti.
Yes. What do we mean by self-effulgent? How do you know you are you? In the last verse, we talked about the self as Sakshi, the witness of everything. I know the table. I know the traffic. I know the body. I know the prana. I know the feelings. I know the thoughts. But how do I know me? I need no other light. Jyoti is a light to light the self. For example, the lamp here is the light which allows us to see all the objects. But I don't need to have this lamp shine on that lamp. The lamp shines, it is self-effulgent. You know you. You are not unknown. But you do not know yourself as an object. You will never see the self in a meditation. You will never have a mind say, oh, that's the self. No, you are the eternal factor. What's always there? Me. How do I know it? I do not see, hear, taste, touch, smell, remote, or think myself. Yet, I am not unknown. Is Swayam Jyoti, self-luminous. Next idea.
Distinct from the five sheets.
Yes. So whatever experience arises, be it a sense perception, be it a sensation in the body, who knows that I do? Whatever. A feeling arises. We're not concerned about good feelings versus bad ones, vicious versus virtuous. Doesn't matter. We're working on the relationship. Who knows the feeling? I do. Same thing with the thought. Who knows the thought? I do. Who am I? Ever the knower of the Panchkoshi, the five sheets. Next idea.
Witness of the three states.
Three states are waking, dream, and deep sleep. Right now, I hope most of you are awake. Who knows what's going on right now? I do. I had a wild dream this morning. Did you dream this morning? If so, who knew it? I did. You slept soundly? Who knew it? I did. And we include all chemically induced conditions here. Dream state can include ecstasy, ayahuasca, PCP, smoking marijuana. All of them are dreams. Now, the problem with some drugs is what I call a double samsara. Samsara is the illusion that this world is real. This world is illusory. Jagat Mithya. The self is real. But you take the psychedelic and it tells you that what you're experiencing on the psychedelic is real. It tells you your waking state world is not real. And it tells you what you saw on the drug state is real. And what Vedanta would say is, okay, who knew the waking state before you took the LSD? I did. Who saw the psychedelic acid trip? Oh, I did. And then when you came down, who knew the mind state when you crashed? I did. That's yourself. You are not a mind state. Now, let me subtleize this. In Gita, Krishna will say, "O Arjuna, be you vigunaihi, be you ever beyond the gunas, and always remain in the sattvic state." Now, wait a minute, that sounds like a contradiction in terms. Shankara here is saying the same thing. The witness of waking, dream, and deep sleep. That's the same idea as witness of the three gunas, tamas, rajas, sattva. But then why does he tell us to remain in the sattvic state? Because a sattvic mind is the happiest mind. It's a mind state. But you can maximize sattva. Which will tend to make your life happier. How do you do it? Eat purely. Get enough rest. Exercise regularly. Meditate. Most importantly, Vivekachudamani Verses. Constantly discriminate. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Om. This will maximize sattva. And if you catch the flu, your sattva will go away. You will not lose your discrimination, but you'll have a funky mind. You'll feel like crap. You go to sleep, guess where your sattva goes at night when you go to sleep? On. Deep sleep is what you know. So be aware. You are not a mind state. You are ever beyond mind states. Don't be attached to mind states. But understand, practically speaking, sattvic mind is the most happy mind. Very simple. Any thoughts on this?
The goal is to maximize the time you're in sattvic, can maintain the sattvic mind.
I'm not sure I'd call it a goal even. Do you want to be happy?
Yeah, I guess like I think of it as the longer time you have a sattvic mind,
Yeah.
the happier
And
you feel.
it will shift, it always does.
Yeah.
But do your best to remain in the sattvic mind state. And the externals help to some degree, diet, sleep, etc. But the principal reason we lose our sattva is jiva bhavana and the consequential jonesing, raga dvesha, follows right behind it. That makes sense?
Yeah.
What are the marks of pure sattva? Knowledge of the self, seeing the world as it really is. Mixed sattva, a little bit of rajas and tamas, cheerfulness, attracted to the spiritual life, keeping holy company. A little on most days, you know. All right. Good question. Good question. Wait, before we go. So, if I'm unhappy, step back, be a spiritual physician for yourself. Physician, heal thyself. Why am I unhappy? Your ego will tell you I'm not getting what I want. Yoga says, where am I attached? Where am I identified? Just remember that. All right, going on. I'm sorry.
Next idea?
Yeah.
Is real with a capital R.
Yes, real. Philosophically speaking, our definition of reality is that which is never subject to negation. The glass will someday break. It will be negated. Everything in the world of phenomena will end. It will be negated. What is it that is never subject to negation? When are you ever not? I'm a Buddhist, a Shunyavadan Buddhist. I don't exist. I'm very glad to hear that. You've experienced it? Yes, I've experienced it. All right. Does the pillow on my bed exist or not exist? I don't know. I haven't seen it. Well, if you didn't exist, how do you know you didn't exist? Something had to be there to know it. Next idea.
Is without modifications.
Yes. The body modifies physical pain and pleasure, fat, skinny. The mind certainly modifies. Oh my gosh. It's so simple when you see the just boring mechanics. When the environment, when the situation is conducive, the mind goes, when the environment is non-conducive, and the rest of the time, that's all there is to it. And we dress it up and make it so sophisticated. All there is. Pay no attention to it. Whatever situation is going on, it will change. Thoughts. I like the assignment. Quit believing your mind. I cannot think a real thought. I have no thoughts or feelings of my own. None of my thoughts or feelings belong to me. Don't own them. I'm not being responsible. Try it. Just take on the practice. Have no thoughts or feelings of my own. Mind just arises. I don't care from where it came. Don't believe it. You are without any taint, any change. Clear, empty. It's a term from Yoga Vasishtha that I love. It's my favorite. Chidakash, the very space of consciousness itself. Next idea.
Is unsullied.
Yes. Equipment can get dirty. You are Vishuddha, extremely pure, beyond all impurities. Nirmalam, clear, empty. Don't believe me. Look. Next idea.
Bliss everlasting.
So when I let go of everything, the mind ceases its extroversion and comes home. Becomes blissful. Somebody used to say, meet me there. That's the end of the verse.
Yeah, it ends with the wise person should realize it as their own self.
Amen. Next verse.
Section 46. What is Atman disciple? Shishya uvacha mityatvena nishiddeshu kosheshveteshu panchasu sarvabhavam vina kinchid na pashyamatra he guru vigneyam kimu vastatvi swatmanat avipashchita. The Shishya asked, after negating these 5 sheets as unreal, I find nothing but an absence of everything. O revered teacher, by which entity then should the wise man realize his oneness with the Atman? End quote.
Yes. So what is realization? When I've negated all the equipments, there's nothing left. By what instrument is the self realized? We said it's unknowable by the equipment. We talked about the self is Swayambhu, self-evident, Swayam Jyoti, self-luminous. What is realization? Let's see what the Guru answers. This is really subtle stuff.
Section 47. Nature of the self discussion. Shri Guru Vacha Satyamuktam Tvaya Vidvan Nipunosi Vicharane Ahamadi Vikarasto Tadabhavo Yano Sarve Yenanubhuyante Yaswayam Nanubhuyate Tamatmanam Veditaram Vidhi Buddhaya Susukshmaya. The Guru answered, Rightly have you spoken, O learned one. You are indeed clever in your ability to discriminate. Through an extremely subtle intellect, realize the Atman, the knower, to be that by which all modifications like the ego, as well as their absence during deep sleep, are perceived, but which itself is not perceived.
Yeah. So, self-realization takes place in an extremely subtle intellect. The buddhi intellect becomes buddha, awake. So we have two things going on here. We have direct experience, and then we have reflection on that direct experience. And I have several worldly examples I've used. Latest one I've been using is bring your mind's eye, your attention to the sensation of the waistband of your trousers or your pants around your waist. Are your pants too tight, too loose, or just right? Did you notice what it felt like? Now, that action is called reflection. You use the attentive faculty of your mind to point the attention at a direct experience and reflect on it. But the direct experience, the sensation of your skin against the waistband, you've been experiencing since you put your pants on this morning. Is that not so? Yes? No?
Yes.
But have you thought about it all day? Not unless you ate too much. So the mind has the capacity to reflect on a direct experience. Now, our example breaks down because feeling the skin against your waistband is another objective experience. You are always eyeing. The instrument, the pramana, for the direct experience of the self is the self itself. That's why Meher Baba always used to say, everybody's already realized. Don't worry, be happy. No one lacks the experience of the self. The self is always eyeing. Language fails us. But what's my problem? My problem is not an ontological problem. It's not one of being. It's one of epistemology, one of knowing. My knowing, where? In the subtle intellect. It's all screwed up. In our discussion of the Vijnanamaya Kosha, because of ignorance, we had this karta, this agent, which attributes to the self the qualities of the not self. I think I'm my body, or my body plus the subtle body, the thoughts and feelings and memories and judgments, etc. Where does that take place? In the subtle intellect, in the Vijnanamaya Kosha. There is no other bondage than that deeply rooted ignorance in the Vijnanamaya Kosha, where I think I'm the body. doesn't touch the self. And there is no other liberation than this deep insight that occurs in the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the subtle intellect, after having negated the Panchakosha. Then it notices, well, who is it or is it that has known it? Oh, it's me. And in the space between your thoughts, with the attention introverted, notice who you are. And this flash of insight that happens in the subtle intellect. Oh, I get it. I am that Atman, that vast empty space of awareness. Marvelous. I thought I was a person. Where did that person go? I don't know. Note, the insight in the intellect is not, oh, I'm an enlightened person now. In a quiet mind with the attentive faculty introverted, when you drop all the thinking, do you see an enlightened person in there? Yes, no. What's there? Nothing. That's right. You think you're a person, you're a fool. Even if you think you're an enlightened person, you're probably the greatest of fools then. But the wise man or the wise woman knows she is Brahman. Whew, so much less effort. And it's really quite marvelous being Brahman. Nothing touches me. I go nowhere. Don't have to prove anything. Don't have to accomplish anything. I can look out at this incredible play of energy and light. Watch the drama. The magic show of the infinite. But I go nowhere. I do nothing. I have no qualities. I have no desire. I have no hatreds. No body. Chidananda Rupa. I feel this bliss and consciousness. Shivo. Shivo. Now, this is very subtle teaching. Few people understand it. This aha, this realization that takes place in the subtle intellect. Pratyabhinyana, it is the recognition of my essential nature. Where does it happen? in an extremely subtle intellect. Because the intellect can reflect a direct experience. What is the direct experience? Heat. I didn't make this up. Neither did Shankar. This is the teaching of the scriptures. Maybe we're lying. Go there and find out. Maybe you're really a little gray ball with wings. Any thoughts? So perhaps try dropping. Next verse.
तत्साक्षिकं भवेत् तथ्येनानुभूयते कस्याप्यननुभूतार्थ साक्षित्वं नोपयुज्यते. That which is witnessed by something else has latter as its witness. When there is no entity to witness a thing, we cannot say that it has been witnessed at all.
So, is there one consciousness that knows consciousness number two? Is there going to be something that knows the self that's other than the self? Is the self going to be witnessed by something? No. The buck stops with me. One of the meanings of Vedanta, the end of knowledge. What is that beyond which there is nothing to know? Yourself is never known as an object. It is unknown, unknowable as an object. Yet it is known because it's real. It is Swayam Jyoti, it is self-luminous. But I've always had that. So what changes? It's insight in the subtle intellect. And you either see it or you don't. There's no process of realization. You either see it or you don't. It's like one of those optical illusion puzzles. And you find the bunny in the picture. No, I don't see it. I'll turn it a little bit this way. No, I still don't see it. Try to look at it this way. Oh yeah, now I see it. How could I have missed it? There's a bunny in the picture. It's like that. Look at the funny papers. Oh, I've been staring at the funny papers for 20 minutes. I can begin to see the head and the ears of the bunny. No, it doesn't work like that. You either see it, you haven't seen it yet. If you haven't seen it, if your mind doesn't go, oh, yeah, and keep doing practices. Keep thinning out the mind. Vivekachudamani. Next verse.
असौ स्वसाक्षिको भावो यत स्वेनानुभूयते अतः परं स्वयं साक्षात् प्रत्यगात्मा न na chetaraha. This Atman is a witness of itself, for it is realized only by itself. Hence, the Atman itself is the supreme Brahman and nothing else.
So it isn't really witnessed by itself, like subject object, but the self is its own praman, it's its own means of knowledge. Yourself is known by you. How do you know you are you? We talk about the triplicity, the triple factor, knower, knowing, and know. Everything in the phenomenal world is known by knower, knowing, and know. I Jim through seeing, no taking. I Jim through manas, no feelings. I Jim through buddhi, no intellect. How do you know you are you? Who knows it? I do. What's the praman? What's the means of knowledge, the instrument? You don't see, hear, taste, touch, smell, remote, or think. I don't know. You. Self is its own means of knowledge. What is that which is known? Not as an object, but it's certainly not unknown. Are you? Mm-hmm. Sure about that? I think you. We'll quit thinking, see if you disappear. How do you know? I don't know, I just do. That's right. And that is the only thing you will ever know for sure. Everything else, without exception, is known through the mind. And in the end is quite mysterious. It isn't God that's the mystery. God is the only thing that's absolutely knowable. It's the world that's the mystery. All right, we'll end here. What verse are we on for next week?
218.
218. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha.